Kwame Thomas.
I'm Adi Yusuf here.
I'm Anthony Jeffrey.
And you're listening to the Dragonheart Radio.
Hello and welcome to Dragonheart. I'm Mark Griffiths and I'm joined by Che Long. Nice to be working with you again, Che.
Brilliant. Can't wait to crack on with the show.
Absolutely. Well, it's a special show today. At the end of it, we're going to launch something rather special. But first, it's an interview with Kerry Evans, who is the Wrexham Football Club's Disability Liaison Officer. And I was lucky enough to be able to chat to her for quite a long time. And even then, I think only just scratched the surface of the good work that she does. We are so lucky, I think, to have somebody of her calibre and her commitment working for the good of our community.
Yeah, definitely. I think every club needs someone like her to work for Wrexham, and you know, the disabled community in Wrexham also need a football club like everyone else does.
Exactly right, exactly. And you know, we have a lot of great volunteers at the club. Hers is a paid position, but that doesn't make a blind bit of difference. I know plenty of people who phone it in for their paid jobs. I mean, me, for example. But no, the work that she puts in is just terrific. And the fact that she innovates as well. We're not copying what works for other clubs. We are putting things which other clubs are looking at and hoping to copy.
Definitely, and if we could be a trailblazer for this particular subject in our league, and we could be the best for the community in our league, I think it's absolutely fantastic.
100%. So let's not waste any more of your time. After this, you'll hear from Kerry.
I'm John Ponticelli, and you're listening to the Dragonheart Radio Show.
Well, Kerry, thank you so much for joining us, because, I mean, you're so busy. The amount of wonderful work that you do means that to give up a little bit of time to chat to us is fantastic. So thank you, firstly, so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for asking me.
Well, I mean, I've got to ask you because, let's be honest, Rob McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds, a big part of why they're interested in the club has got to be seeing all the fantastic work that you do. They want to buy into a club with values. So many of the things that make me proud to be a Wrexham fan are the things that you do.
Oh, thank you very much. I think the fact that we were community fan owned, I think the way that we are within the community at Wrexham Football Club, I think that was a big pull, and I think that is only going to grow as we go along. From the conversations I've already had and speaking to people, I think that's something that they really do want to push on with, and that's amazing for everyone at Wrexham Football Club.
Oh, it certainly is. And I want to get to those guys, most definitely. Let's start at the beginning. What's your first recollections of Wrexham as a football club? What got you into them? What was your spark?
Well, I actually I've been to matches when I was younger with my dad. Then obviously everybody knows my husband is Kingsley Evans.
Yeah.
And he was very involved with the club himself at the time, doing Dragonheart.
Great show, by the way. Great show. I don't know what's happened to it since.
Mark.
It's gone downhill since, I promise you.
No, it most definitely hasn't. You're doing a damn good job.
Oh, I don't know
But it very much was. We got a season ticket. I started coming. That was about 8 years ago now, and I absolutely loved it. I fell in love with it, and to be honest, didn't know why I haven't been, previous to that, from being a child with my own dad. When a job came along for the Disability Liaison Officer, I've got to be honest, I was perhaps a little bit naive. I felt that the job role was meeting and greeting on a match day for disabled fans.
Wow.
And making people feel welcome.
Yeah.
And that was very much, I felt that would be a lovely thing to do and something that I'd possibly be good at. So I sent off my CV and applied for the job role. To be honest, very much feeling at the time that I didn't have much of a chance, but it was something nice to sort of ask and see if I could start working at Wrexham Football Club.
Wow,
So,
that's fascinating.
yeah, it was. Sorry, it was. I mean, it was. It was something I very much went along to the interview. I've got to be honest. The interview I found very hard.
Yeah.
I came out of the interview and thought, having had full-time jobs myself before I was disabled, that was probably one of the hardest interviews I've ever done. And I thought, I'll never get that job. And I sort of walked out of there and thought, that's the end of that. I actually got a phone call about this time of year in 2018 to say that I'd got the job role. So I was absolutely ecstatic.
It's amazing to think you've been in it 2 years, if I'm honest, because you've made an imprint on so many different things. I mean, what you've taken on to me is an incredibly wide range. Do you see what I mean? There's so many different, diverse things that have your thumbprint on it, if you will.
Yes, definitely. I mean, to be honest, I have most definitely found my passion in life. I've never been so happy as any full-time job that I've ever done in my life up until the time I was disabled. I've now done this as a full-time volunteer, and I absolutely adore the job. I've definitely found what is my passion, and I think because of that fact, I have just been driven with the more you can see you're making a difference, and the more you're seeing the emotion or the smiles on people's faces, the more you are driven to want to do more. I think that's been my ethos of the whole time, really.
Fantastic. It must be pleasing for you as well to see, I mean, just on social media, on say Twitter or something like that, the engagement and response that you get. I know it's only a small part of the feedback you'll get, but you know, for so many people, social media is an intimidating place. But you get such positivity coming back because people are expressing how much they appreciate your work. It must be good to see that.
Oh, it's unbelievable. Fans have really taken me to their heart. I feel that I'm one of the luckiest people in the club, because whatever negativity is going on around the club or whatever the situation is, I still always seem to have the positives, and I'm always the one that everybody is happy to get behind on initiatives that I'm doing. And so I feel quite lucky within Wrexham Football Club that everybody always seems to be behind me, really.
If you look at a few of the things that you've done, I'll probably forget things as well, so please point them out because there's so many. The Quiet Zone is fantastic. I love that.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, that's something I'm very, very proud of. Probably the two biggest initiatives we've done are the accessible away travel and the Quiet Zone. The Quiet Zone is what makes it so special is we now have families that regularly come to Wrexham Football Club that have actually said to me, without this area and without the room and without the things that you've put in place, we physically could not come. We couldn't sit in the crowd. We wouldn't be able to do that. So it's changed families' lives, being able to be accepted somewhere. I felt it was very important to me that we got it right. I got a lot of help from the Wrexham branch of the National Autistic Society, because it was really important to me that we didn't do it half-hearted. We did it right, and we made people feel that everything was put in place and they felt safe and relaxed when they came. I think we've done that. I mean, the comments that we get are absolutely fantastic. But to actually have people that now feel that they can come, that are openly saying, you know, without this we wouldn't be able to come and watch live football is absolutely outstanding.
100%. And as I'm a teacher, I know I've had feedback from parents who have experienced it as a parent, who think it's wonderful, and fans who I've spoken to whose children go there too, who I happen to know. Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, it is very special. I mean, more recently, pre-COVID, I actually had my line manager is Phil Bennett, the stadium manager, and he said on a night out he had somebody come up to him in a pub and say, absolutely fantastic for the work for the quiet zone, and we're able to bring our son now and we wouldn't be able to come, and had made a big fuss of him on a night out and actually commenting on things that we've done at the club. To me, that really shows we've made a difference. We've put something in place that really is noticed and noted for what we've done. And apparently, I've recently done an interview with Daniel from the Aspire World. He's a guy who he has autism, and he raises awareness of autism, and is quite a big name within the autism world. And he has recently done research and said we are the only club actually in the UK that has the National Autistic friendly status.
Gosh.
Now that doesn't mean anywhere else doesn't do things for autism. That's not what I'm saying at all. But we actually had the autism friendly status that we got 2 years ago now, for all the work that we've done, and we're now recognised and on their website as somewhere that they recommend for families to go. So that's quite an achievement.
Oh, quite, and remarkable as well, because to look at another area, and I won't attack any other clubs in doing this, much as I'd love to do that. When we had the likes of Tanny Gray Thompson talking about the quality of our facilities compared to bigger clubs. As I'm not trying to say to be negative against other clubs, but it's a heck of an achievement for a 5th division team with a very old stadium to be able to offer proper facilities like that.
Well, we went down as the first football club in Wales and the first business in Wrexham to become autism friendly. Now, to me, I wouldn't have cared if we were the 100th. It still needed doing. So it wasn't anything about us being the first. It was the fact that I was very passionate and I wanted that to be put in place. And it's something that I'm very, very proud of. To see the children's faces now coming, I think one of the most important things is that they have repetition. So myself, and we now have 2 accessible stewards who are trained, they've got autism training as well as myself, and they're the friendly faces. We're the people that they know every single time that they come, and they feel relaxed because they feel they know us. And to see the kids' faces is just absolutely wonderful. It's something I'm very, very proud of.
Exactly, because that's the sort of thing maybe people don't value enough, but to make what looks like a small difference.
I'm Elliot Durrell, and you're listening to the Dragonheart Radio Show.
Or even a brief difference to one person can mean the world to that person, and especially when you're a child. And to offer that as a sort of, we all have our childhood memories of things that really meant something to us, and you are offering exactly that to those children, and indeed to the parents. It's a very special thing, that, just on its own.
Yeah. We had. I know this particular guy won't mind me mentioning. We have a gentleman that comes with his 2 sons, twins. He always came to the football with one twin. They always went to the game together. His other twin son has autism and wouldn't have coped in the ground, so they went just one of the children and their dad. And when we opened the area, they came along. They've now come to every single game since. Now, I'll never forget the first time that they visited us, because Dad was in tears at the end and saying how much it meant to him that he could now do something that he loves and be with both his sons for the afternoon and bring them both, and know that there were things in place that, that they could both enjoy it. And that to me is everything.
Oh, absolutely. It's wonderful. I've got to say something else as well, and you've touched on it. I was going to mention it anyway. This may sound a bit of an odd thing for me to say, but I like the fact that the quiet area is sort of high profile, if you forgive the tautology. That you go to that part of the stand and you see the signs and you're aware it's there and it's part of the fabric, because that reflects, I think, what you were suggesting earlier when you're talking about having a line manager. the fact that the club wholeheartedly prioritises, your work, whereas previously, I mean, I know from experience that previous regimes have been the opposite, have been, if not obstructive to things like that, certainly haven't been willing to devote the slightest bit of attention or money to it. And I just think the fact that, just the very fact of a well signposted, well established area, which will never be threatened by, commercial considerations. It's good that that the club's been able to let you do your work, if you will, as a proper part of the community of the club.
Yes, definitely. I think I'm very persuasive, and I think half the time they just say yes to get rid of me. But no, I don't take no lightly. I do a lot of research. I do approach the club with I have a plan. I put a lot of work into the work that I go to the club with, to then say, well, I have something that I want to put in place. This is how I can envisage it running. This is how it's going to work, and we sort of grow it from there. So I do put a lot of work into sort of approaching the club. But I've been very, very lucky. I'm so lucky in the fact that they do back me, and I think they do respect what we're trying to do to make a difference for disabled fans.
Well, I mean, no question about that, no question. It does contrast, like I said, of how things have been in the past. I mean, I remember the hospital radio setting up a commentary system for supporters who couldn't see the game to be able to listen to commentaries. The club said they would administer it, and within a few weeks, all the equipment was gone. Because they hadn't administered it, they'd just given out equipment.
Well, in actual fact, as you touch on that, Mark, to be fair, when apparently the Disabled Supporters Association, DSA, had approached the club before my role was in place about putting in the audio descriptive commentary, and it had been knocked back. So when I came on board and they obviously approached me, I said, send everything through, give me the time to look at it, go into detail on it, let's see how we can get this set up. And to be fair, I fully backed them in what they were trying to do at Wrexham. And I was then the person that approached the club with all this is how it would work, this, as we've just discussed previously. And they did get their yes, and that's an absolutely outstanding service that's been put in place, that we now have the audio descriptive commentary. I mean, again, that's not something at clubs in our level. So, all merit to the DSA for that they now run that, and I was so happy to be able to help to get their yes for that.
100%. And just to clarify, I'm talking about a much earlier regime, I promise you.
Right, yeah.
I'm talking about in the 90s when stuff happened that shouldn't, should we say. So, yeah. And I know it happened because I was a bloke trying to sort it all out. And
oh, gosh.
So I wasn't very amused. But anyway, that's by the by. But no, I'm not saying about recent history. I would say, though, that is a fantastic setup they have, isn't it? With the
It certainly is, yes. I mean, I believed in it right from when I was approached. And that's why I was quite happy to fight to get that service in place for the DSA.
And I'll be frank with you, I've got the enthusiasm for it of a convert, because at first I thought, well, anyone can use our commentary, that's absolutely fine. You need to do a different project. And I'm completely convinced that it was the right thing to do now. I've seen it in operation, not least because essentially their equipment is a radio station, isn't it? So that they are broadcasting live, whereas our commentary would, of necessity, have a delay, which makes it absolutely pointless for inside the stadium. But the setup is superb. It really is fantastic service.
Well, the one thing I asked, being the person who I've been given the role of disability liaison officer, and I'm in charge of all things disability within our club, I did very much say at the beginning with the DSA, could I be very part of it? Could I go along to the training? Because I felt if I'm in charge of the stadium when it comes to disability, I needed to know how it worked, to be able to explain to other people, to know exactly what's going on within our stadium. And I've got to say, I've been to 2 or 3 training sessions for the people that now run the audio descriptive on match days, and it was absolutely blown me away with how descriptive and how professional a service it is. To be honest, it's fantastic.
Oh, that's brilliant. It really is lovely to hear. The and it really, like I said, it's just so professionally done and properly supported, and like you said before, not done in a half-hearted way, and that's crucial, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, definitely. I think having a lot of that is with my role as well. The fact that every single match day I'm available, I'm always there for fans. I'm the face that everybody knows now, and I think having somebody now that represents disability within our club, people know they can approach me, people know how to get hold of me, people know that we're not putting systems in place that are perhaps there one week and they're not the next. They have to be there every single week, and they work as clockwork, every single match day. And I think that's important. You can't do, I couldn't do my job half-hearted. I couldn't be there at one point and then not able to fulfill on other things. So it's something that I've absolutely put my heart and soul into, and it's very important to me. But I feel it's a real privilege to have been able to make a difference to disabled fans.
The other side, you're listening to the Dragonheart Radio.
And that gets to the very nub, I think, of what's important about your work. That it's a routine, match by match. This is just what happens, sort of thing. It's not.
Yes.
Oh, there's a special effort being made, because there should be no special effort to make anything accessible. And I think sometimes there's a danger. I think in a way that's what I'm saying about the quiet zone. In a way, that I feel, and I'm going to sound awful saying this, sometimes there are too many, shall we say, stunt events around the world where we draw attention to something for a day and then we forget about it for a year, and instead you're just making lasting routine changes to how things operate every single time, rather than say,
exactly.
I'm not trying to be critical in saying this about these movements, but I love the Rainbow Laces movement, but then football clubs wear them for a week and then forget about them again, and I struggle to see all the value out of that, in a sense. So lasting, permanent attitude changes are what genuine, meaningful change is all about. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, the things that we've put in place that perhaps people don't even realise. 3 or 4 times a season, I offer a quiet walkabout session. So after school, we invite people into the stadium when it's closed. We find we get a lot of people who have never ever been in a football stadium, and to see their mouths open as they walk in and see the size of it is fantastic. We show people where they can park, where they can buy their match day tickets, where they can come through an accessible entrance instead of going through the turnstiles, because that was brought to my attention. People can't go into an enclosed space in a turnstile. So it gives people a chance to see it, know the routine before they're walking in with 2,000 people in the stand. We sort of brought to our attention that people can't go and queue in the concourse. Crowds are an issue, and at half time it's absolutely mad in the concourse in Mould Road, obviously. So we've now got a waitress service. Where people come out, they take people's orders, they go and collect their hot drinks, their food, and bring it back to them pitch side. So that's so important that people don't have to go and queue. We've got our accessible stewards that are there every single match day. They actually, and where all stewards, as people will know in the ground, stewards' jobs are to be standing what's in the crowds. In our particular area, the stewards have actually been told they are allowed to sit amongst the families and chat, because that's what I needed. I needed people to feel that they can chat about the last week they've had and any problems they've had, and feel that there's a friendly ear, you know, to sort of offload to, in a way. So they're fulfilling a very different role to the rest of the stewards in the ground. And then this last year, I funded myself. We do autism packs now, so they get a Wrexham bag, a kit bag, and inside they get ear defenders, and they get fidget balls and fidget spinners and things like that, that all are stress related, that they've got things to do. They had a Wrexham AFC hat, and they're something that we give out to people that now sit in the area, so that they've got things that they can do pitch side, as well as being able to go into the sensory hub. So it all makes a difference. The one thing I will say is, I had a bit of negativity at the very beginning. I had a couple of people say to me, how can you label people and put this area in place? And the one thing I will say is, I've not labelled anybody. I've put an area in place that enables families who feel that they need to use this area. They have that all set up in place, and they are more than welcome to use it. But anybody with autism can sit anywhere they want in the ground. We're certainly not putting any label on anybody. We are just providing something for the families that couldn't sit anywhere else in the ground.
Well, precisely. So, it's offering a facility rather than anything else. And even though I said it feels embedded, it's not high profile. It's just there, and we know it is, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, very much so. It's very important, and I must admit, I like to raise awareness of it, because I think it's a very important thing that we offer. And I'm still now getting people that say, we didn't realise you did that. So I spend a lot of my time going out to schools, getting in touch with head teachers and saying, can I come in and speak, so that we are making people aware that everything that we do offer. I mean, one of the things that a lot of people don't realise is, from that area, I had parents saying to me, do we have any sort of football sessions? And I said, well, obviously the Racecourse Communities Foundation do the football sessions in all school holidays. And then I was getting back the negativity from parents that, well, my son couldn't go to that session. So again, we looked into it, and now myself and Kerry Roberts from the National Autistic Society in Wrexham, we fund sessions that are just autism friendly football sessions in all the school holidays, and the RCF do an absolutely fantastic job of running the sessions for us. So again, that's something that people don't realise. That's an add-on to the quiet zone, that now we're able to provide sessions, and all these children come along and they absolutely love what they're doing, and they feel relaxed because they know that everybody's in the same boat in those sessions. They're all as one, and they work fantastic.
Oh, brilliant. You must do about 6,000 people's work, so, you know, you're very good at it.
I think, to be honest, a lot of it is that I poke my nose into other people's work. I wasn't happy just with being disability liaison officer, and started to poke my nose into community work and just help where I can, really. I think what opened my eyes to that was when I started the quiet zone. I had two families in particular that came along and said, we don't even like football, but it's an afternoon out, and we know that we're accepted, and we know that if there's any problems that you'll help us, and we're not judged, and we've come because it's something we can do as a family. And that sort of struck a chord with me, because I thought, we've got families coming who don't even like football, yet they're coming to our club. And that's something I feel we could get so many more people through the doors and into the club that maybe aren't there for the pitch, for the services that we run apart from that. And I think that's a massive positive.
Oh, 100%.
Obviously, the pitch and the players and the team are obviously the forefront of what we do. But I just feel that our club could become a hub for so many different elements and people to meet at. And I think it really could be put on the map. Personally, that's my vision.
Wow, and thankfully it's a vision shared by some very powerful people.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I'm Reese Johnson, and you're listening to the Dragonheart radio show.
Excellent. Well, let's move on to other thing that you were proud of, and quite rightly, the away travel, the accessible away travel. And we're chatting to you actually at Chorley last season.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, I would imagine that is a heck of a difficult thing to sort, simply from my experience of other football clubs. When you're dealing with people you know in your own environment, you're all right to, you know what you can ask for, where you can go, and you've got a level of accessibility to them. But I know from full well, other football clubs can be tricky to even get hold of sometimes, never mind, sort of sort out an away trip like that. So that must have been a heck of a job.
It was. I won't, I will be honest about that. At the very beginning, I was contacting other clubs in other leagues, and all I was getting back was, we don't provide that travel. So I've got to be honest, you have to go quite high up within the leagues to even get a club that will answer you back and say they provide the travel, because it just doesn't seem to be something that a lot of clubs can provide. I'm sure the club won't mind me saying, when I first went to them with this project, I very much sort of got told, there's no way this can happen. What people perhaps don't realise is it runs at a loss because we can't make it profitable. So it runs at a loss, and I provide the money to make that service run from the funds that I've built up myself, selling red blankets and things like that, and doing quiz nights and things. So I have a fund that I've raised myself, and the club very rightly said, you can't provide something that is going to run at a loss and is going to cost us a lot of money. And my answer back to them was, let me prove to you that we can make it work. I can provide the extra money, and let me prove to you. And they very kindly did. And I was determined it was going to work. So, I mean, even to find a company that could provide the travel was months of work, because everywhere I rang could possibly, one bus could provide one wheelchair space. That was no good. We needed someone that we could take, at least half a dozen people on away games. So even finding the travel was a big enough job in the first place. And then once we got the travel in place, the very first year I ran it just to 7 games, and we charge in line with PATS coaches, so that it's as fair across the board for everybody, but carers go free. So we only have 4 paying people on a bus. And I was fine, for a trip, I'm probably paying out £200 each trip we do, because it runs like a taxi service. It's different to obviously PATS coaches going with so many buses and whatever. But those seven trips we did, I had a guy who had never ever been to an away game but had been a lifelong fan, who went to his very first away game, and the emotion of that. I had another guy in floods of tears the first time that he came with us, because it was so special. The emotion of that accessible away travel that first season was something quite special. And straight away I was of the opinion, I don't care how I get this money, and I don't care how I make it work, but it has to work. And this last season we were up to providing the travel for half a season. So I think that was something to be quite proud of, because it does cost such a lot of money, but to be able to say to people, for half a season now you've got chances. And what I do is I give everybody the chance of whatever matches they would like to come to, and then I sit and I work it out as fairly as I can, and I will say, well, to begin the season there's 3 or 4 that you can do, and every single person gets 3 or 4 journeys that they can make. And then people perhaps drop out or extra spaces become available, and I work it as fairly as I can. But to be able to provide an accessible service and turn up at away games with a group of disabled fans is, well, you just can't put into words, to be honest, how special it is.
Oh, it's fantastic. It really is. And the clubs have been willing to work with you as well, which seems pleasing to me. I mean, I'm not going to name names, but I'm aware of clubs in our league who, for example, when we know there's bad weather warnings coming and the game's likely to be off, don't answer their phone to Wrexham Football Club for a week. There's a lot of clubs like that around. And to be fair, some clubs have got probably one member of staff working there.
Some are better than others, I do admit, because I run everything. I arrange the travel, I arrange the times, I communicate with everybody who's going on the journey, I take in the money, I pay the bills, and I do all the communication. Although Pat's coaches, and obviously we provide that as a club, it doesn't get organised for my own travel. I do all the organisation with the away teams myself. So it is something that I fully take care of.
Wow, it's a heck of an undertaking. Well done. I tell you what, next time I have builders in here, I'm having you here to make sure they do the job properly. For nothing.
It has been said from people, I think I'm a bit of a workaholic. I think I love to be busy. I love to, and a lot of what I've actually achieved within the club is driven by me, not the club themselves. The club aren't pushing my role, saying you need to be doing this. It's me going to them, saying, can I now do this, and can we now get that done? And I've obviously got a big wish list. There's always more to be done. I'm very aware of that, but I'm very committed to doing that. And as long as I'm in the club, fans have my full commitment to the job I'm doing, and I will continue to try and make a difference.
I've got to say as well, I mean, in the away trips, you've got no control, obviously, of whereabouts you would be, because that's the away club's layout.
Yes.
That's obviously something which has massively improved at the racecourse. And if I could just go through my sort of experience of this, when I started doing the commentating, I was in the old Mold Road stand. That was where the wheelchair accessible facilities were as well. And I used to regularly have a good chat with everybody as we were all waiting to go in. And I would then look at the actual facilities, and, well, there essentially weren't really facilities. It was just out of the open side of the pitch. There's a lad I taught, actually, a lovely fella, who ended up hospitalised because it was so close to the pitch that Kieran Durkin, of all people, a player who could really wallop a ball, thumped a clearance from about 10 yards away from him right into his head.
Wow.
That sort of health and safety aspect of being so close to the pitch. And then also, there was a time when there were some shelters, but as I understand it, they were sort of voluntarily given as part of a college's project. I think a sixth form college, their tech class had made and designed these shelters. And, hats off to them for that. That's brilliant. Yeah. And they did it to donate it. But then, again, it's a previous regime. There was no maintenance done on them. And before long, you could see holes in the roof, and you probably got wetter in those than you did outside them. So it must be gratifying now to see the racecourse and think, okay, we're a few steps on from those sorts of days.
I would hope we've moved on from that, and there's so much more to be done. There always is. I would love to say that everything is perfect. Everything is far from perfect, and there is changes and things that still need implementing. But I'm pretty sure now, with Ryan and Rob's passion for what they want, and the fact that they'd already said on a fans forum, speaking, when they were first saying what they wanted for Wrexham Football Club, they actually said on day 1 or 2, we will be contacting Kerry to discuss what is needed to change. So that's really good news, because that straight away said to me they're on board. They want to make that difference. They want me to continue to be able to change things for the better.
You're a mind reader, because I was about to say exactly the same thing and move on to that. You're absolutely right. I thought it was telling, and one of the most positive things I felt out of a very sort of positive time when they were making their pitches and being accepted by the trust members, that when they made a written statement before the Zoom meeting, and they mentioned two people, Dixon McNeil and you. And I just thought, yeah, that's spot on. You understand this football club, because it's about football legends like Dixie, who's committed to the club. It's about, frankly, legends like yourself who are committed to the community of the club. And I thought, good, they get that. And the fact they said they would do speaking to you.
Yeah. It was such an honour to get a phone call from Rob McElhenney asking for permission to speak about me. And on that phone call, he asked, would I be part of their journey and would I continue at the football club? So I was very lucky that very early on, although I didn't know in what capacity moving forward, I knew that I was wanted to continue within the club. So that was very good news.
I'm Luke Young, and you're listening to the Dragonheart radio show.
I mean, and I want to, we hear the phrase managing expectations a lot about this takeover, and that's right. I think there's too many people think we'll be in the Champions League in 2 years or whatever. We're buying Messi in the summer, when obviously we're going to in January. Obviously we're going to make till the summer and get him on a free transfer.
Yeah, that'd be brilliant.
we've got Anthony Jeffrey and Elliot Durrell, so there's no pressing need for a wide player. And Rutherford, Messi can wait. Yeah. But I think in your case as well, we have to manage expectations, that they won't just wave a magic wand and suddenly we'll get everything. But I just think it'd be nice to see, like you've already mentioned a few times, that you've had to, by selling the blankets, by having the quizzes, fund quite a lot anyway. Now, hopefully, it might be, there might be scope to look at ambitious projects, perhaps, and pitch them at least.
Yes, definitely.
It might make more things realistic.
Yeah, definitely. I was told to write a wish list. I have done, and I have a very long wish list. But I keep saying to everybody, I'm very realistic. At the end of the day, the money only goes so far, and we can only do so much at a time. And my thoughts are, if I could say, could I do those first two things on a list, was sort of in the next 12 months, and moving on from that, could I do 3, 4 and 5? That's amazing to me, because at least I know moving forward that there is possibly funds there that we can achieve things. We're not going to achieve it in the next 6 months. We're not going to be able to put everything that I want to put in place in that period. But to have a constant of possible funding for the disability side of the club, knowing that as we do finish one project, that we can move on looking at the next, is absolutely amazing. And over a 2 or 3 year plan, I think what we could change, and in what I've done since I've started at the club, I'm excited about perhaps another 2-3 years from now, what could have been achieved then.
Exactly. I was going to say that as well, that this idea, if we are successful in scaling the club up on the football side, that's got to have positive repercussions for the community side. I'm just thinking of what huge clubs achieve. I mean, Liverpool and Everton, for example, have been magnificently effective in publicising and coordinating support for the food banks in Liverpool. Everton's community branch is known as being outstanding within that field, but a lot of that is because their badge opens doors, isn't it? If you're Everton,
very much so.
You turn up and say, hello, we're Everton Football Club, everyone's going to start listening. Now, Wrexham at the moment has that to an extent, obviously, but if the club is able to scale up, it then gives people like you that club badge, maybe, of someone who's a club that's more high profile, when you want to badger people for stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I think I'm very excited for the next couple of years and where it takes us, really. I mean, I think every fan's got to be realistic in this isn't going to change in the next 3 months. You know, this is more of a long-term plan, and hopefully we all get to where we want to be. I mean, nobody wants to see us going up the leagues more than me. You know, that'd be fantastic. And the more that we do that, the more we are going to have more away fans with disabilities want to come to our club. So the bigger my job role really becomes then, because there's more things got to be implemented and put in place. But that's amazing if we can be doing the best match day experience for away fans as well as our home fans. Fantastic.
Get after them for a pay rise, yeah.
Yeah, this is something that I do as a passion, as a volunteer, and I absolutely adore what I do.
All right, well, I'll be your agent. I'll have 20% of your pay rise. It's worth a try. It's worth a try. I mean, for me to be an opportunist and benefit from your good work.
John Ponticelli, and you're listening to the Dragonheart Radio Show.
I was just going to say, I mean, I'm very privileged. I feel I've got the best job in the world. The club are so supportive of me, and you know, everybody has just seen the enormous thing of the initiative for the Christmas toy box appeal. That really wasn't my job role as disability liaison officer, but that was something that I went to the club and said, you know, in these times of COVID this year, people have lost their jobs. I could see that, you know, this could really make a difference. And I went to the club and said, if I do all the work for it, is this something that we could do and we could help? Who would have ever thought that an initiative like that would have taken off like it did? The community of Wrexham and Wrexham fans have just blown me away by the donations that I was able to take, and even businesses getting on board as well. I mean, we had Macron get in touch and say, can we donate tracksuits? We had Freedom Leisure get in touch and say, we can offer these families free swim afternoons. And you know, it's unbelievable. And that was through my role of getting word out there. You know, the other thing of recent was the anti-bullying week. I felt that was a real big success. And again, probably not within my realm of disability liaison officer, but it was me went with the idea to the club and said, is this something that we could do? And again, I said, well, if I do all the work towards it, which I was happy to do, it was something that I was very passionate about, as I'm sure people saw because I did my own video from being bullied myself in school. And, you know, I love the fact that the club will let me run a little bit with things like that. You know, they're not sort of saying, well, no, that's nothing to do with you, Kerry. If that's something you're passionate about and you want to do, you know, you get on with it. And that really is a privilege that the club are letting me run with things like that, if I'm honest.
Well, I think a club of our scale succeeds when it recognises people of talent and drive and who can get things done, and recognise that what they need to do is enable that person. And the club it's to its enormous credit that firstly it appointed you, and secondly that it's recognised that you're somebody who gets things done and whose ideas are worth being followed up. And I think we can only, as a community, never mind a football club, thank you for all the amazing work that you do, because we're very, very proud of you, I promise you.
Oh, thank you, Mark. That means a lot.
Well, I can promise you that, because my wife, who is not, okay, let's be frank, she claims she's not a football fan. She secretly is. She sneaks in when Match of the Day is on and sort of absorbs, and she knows a heck of a lot, but she'll claim she's got no interest in football. She paid you the highest compliment simply from hearing what I say or looking on, you know, sort of Wrexham.com or something like that. When I said, right, I'm coming upstairs now to talk to Kerry. And I said, I'm not sure how long it will take. And she said, oh, don't worry about it. She said, she's a fascinating person. And that's a real compliment, because
That
quite frankly,
certainly is.
well, if I said to her in any other context, I'm just popping upstairs to talk to a woman, and I might be some time, I promise you, I wouldn't have got up stair one. So that respect she's got for you, I think, is.
Oh, thank you so much.
Well,
I find it quite bizarre, if I'm honest, because from my point of view, I'm just doing a job that I absolutely love. I find it quite overwhelming how fans have taken me to their hearts and how fans do buy into what I'm doing. There was there's a page on Facebook that I've got involved with, Accessible Wrexham, and they asked me to do a piece recently about the fact that Rob had phoned me and what my job is at Wrexham, and the lady got in touch with me and said, we sometimes get 100 people read an article we put out, and I think they had something like 18,000 people, and I was like, why? Why? Because I don't think I'm interested. But to me, it's just doing something I love and hopefully doing a good job of it. But I do find that side of things very bizarre, if I'm honest.
I'll tell you why, very simply, because you are very interesting. I've just taken an hour out of your time, and I could keep talking to you all night.
Thank you.
And honestly, the reason why I think you get such respect is because there are some people in life who don't really do that much, but my goodness, they make sure they broadcast what little they do, or even if they're not doing much, will claim the benefit for other things and try to make a big public show of themselves. You don't do that. What you do is just good, honest, hard work with fantastic results. And the vast majority of people will recognize someone like you who just does it for the good of what you're doing. And you're the sort of people that can only be respected, who make the world go round. And honestly, that you get judged by your actions, and your actions speak louder than any words could. And you're a credit to the club. I called you a legend before. That wasn't a flippant comment. You seriously did so much for us that we can only raise our hats to you. And I as I said to you before, and I'm not joking, you're probably the main individual person who has influenced Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney to step in, because they'll have seen the good we do in the community. That's what they're looking for. And when they're looking for what, makes us different from other clubs of similar stature they're looking to invest in, there's the history and there's the community work. And you and other key people in the trust should be absolutely proud of yourselves, because you're the reason they've thought this is a club that stands out from other clubs. So again, excellent work, gets its reward. That's all I can say.
I can't thank you enough, Mark. That means the absolute world to me.
Well, don't, because it's true. I promise. And
to be honest, my role would be nothing without the fan support and the backing of the club. So my thanks are always to fans that back me on every single initiative that I dream up, and then I start bantering and asking for help on Twitter, and the fans come through every single time. They blow me away with the support.
Oh, well, you do good things, you get the rewards. That's all I can say. Thank you so much for joining us, Kerry, because it's been a privilege to talk to you. It really has.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm sorry I've probably talked too much.
Oh, no,
That's my downfall.
Don't you worry. Look at some of the interviews I've done over the years of players. I promise you, someone talking is not a problem. It's when they don't say anything. That's an issue.
No, that's one thing I can do. I can talk.
Get away.
Because I'm so passionate about what I do. I suppose that it comes out, and I want to get everything across of what we've achieved at the club, because it very much is what we've achieved, because without the backing of the club, I wouldn't have a role.
I'm Fiacre Kelleher, and you're listening to Dragonheart Radio Show.
So there you are, Kerry. Fantastic ambassador, I think it's fair to say, for the club, and just a fantastic person in general. We're lucky to be working with her, lucky to know her.
Yeah, definitely.
And on that theme, I did unreservedly use the word legends, because that's how highly I think her work should be appreciated, which leads us on to our little launch of something special. I say launch, maybe relaunch is more accurate. We're going to get the Hall of Fame of the club going again. Now, the club has an official Hall of Fame. It's not been added to, though, over the last 15 years or so. It was established initially by 3 members of the Wrexham Supporters Association's committee. It was Dave Davis, Phil Davis and myself. And other people like Ray Clark worked extremely hard on it. We used to have regular meetings to decide who was in it. And, well, at this time, I think of all times, Jay, when it seems there's more interest in Wrexham Football Club than there ever has been, I think it's probably a good thing to relaunch the Hall of Fame and be able to show new fans our heritage.
Yes, definitely, especially with, we're going to have fans from all around the world and even around the country, old fans who want to reconnect as well. I think the Hall of Fame is a fantastic idea, and we're building a new stand in the near future, I think. Wouldn't it be fantastic to incorporate the Hall of Fame with that stand and maybe like a painting or maybe some photos of ex-players and non-players?
Absolutely, that would be quite something, wouldn't it? Like Preston will be with Tom Finney and Bill Shankly picked out in the seats.
Yeah, I think that would be a great idea.
Oh, imagine that, eh? Michael Beccari diving in across the Mold Road to head the ball wide against Chester. Everyone's favourite memory of Wrexham. I didn't mean to sound flippant about your idea then. I promise you, I was only being flippant about Michael Beccari. Bless him. The idea always was, as you say, not just players. So the majority of people in it were players and managers. But the reason Kerry made me think about this was because it would also honour people like herself, not on the playing side, who nonetheless have made huge contributions to the club. And if we think about the people already on the Hall of Fame, there are people on it like Price Griffiths, who obviously, devoted his life to being on the board of the club. People like Carol Clark, who's still the Supporters Association's chairman and has been for decades. The amount of good work that he's done for the club is terrific, alongside players. And the thing is, I think we need more recent injections of players into it, because nobody's put into it for the last 15 years, and we need to get it going again and give it the honour it deserves, I think.
Exactly, and going back to the non-playing staff, that there's a lot more in football than what goes on the pitch, and especially with Wrexham as being a fan-owned club, we've ran off volunteers for the last how many years we've been a fan-owned club, and I think introducing non-playing staff to this Hall of Fame is really, really important. And I think it's great for people overseas who are going to be and Ryan and Rob themselves to know the working class people who have devoted their time to this football club.
Absolutely. There's people on it like Ali McGowan, who played in the 50s and 60s, who partly came to Wrexham because he was given a job as a player, and also a job down the mines. And quite a few players came from Scotland for exactly that reason. There's lots of people who fit into those sorts of categories. Arvin Griffiths worked as a messenger for the mines when he was a young lad. The story's rich with all these tales, and it's just great to keep them alive and to link generations together. So we have players from a very long time ago in the Hall of Fame, like Tommy Mathias, and we have players who are pretty recent, but the rule always was you have to be retired as a player to get into it. But there's plenty of people like Andy Morrell who are still playing then, who aren't now, and therefore would be eligible and have done a stint as manager too. It's just nice to reminisce and look at these old characters, to be honest.
Yeah, and these characters, they forge what a football club is, and the culture around the football club, and the way the fans behave, and the songs and the fan culture. I think this is a really good idea, and to reintroduce and to rejuvenate the Hall of Fame is just a brilliant idea.
Excellent. So we're going to be starting to put things in place over the next few weeks so we can do this properly. And although it will be a democratic process, I think I'm going to use my current position, my executive powers as temporary dictator of the Hall of Fame, to see Kerry's in. I don't think I'll get much objection to that, will I?
That's more than fair, in my opinion.
Excellent. Well, it's been a pleasure, Che, and it was a pleasure talking to Kerry as well. And now, to finish off, as always, it's the Jay Harris Hollywood Send-Off.
This is Jay Harris, and you're listening to Dragonheart Radio.
Thanks very much for watching. Please subscribe as well so you don't miss out on any of our content, and click the bell to get notifications.